family, let me tell you something. There is a weight to being chosen, a weight that presses, a weight that isolates, a weight that makes you question if the very breath in your body is enough to sustain the calling on your life. But I came here today to remind you that when God marks you, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many detours you face, no matter how much time you think you've lost, when your season arrives, everything must bow in submission to the plan he has for you. See, we live in a world that tries to tell us that our best years are behind us, that if we haven't made it by 30, then we must have missed our moment. But let me tell you something. Sometimes the life you were truly created for doesn't even begin until you have been stripped of all the facades, all the distractions, all the things that had you bound in a version of yourself that was never meant to carry the destiny God placed in you. Because what happens when the applause stops? What happens when the identity you built on other people's expectations begins to crumble? What happens when life knocks the wind out of you and you find yourself in a wilderness season where the only thing left standing is your faith? That, my friend, is where true purpose is birthed. That is where the real anointing begins to flow. You see, when you are chosen, your journey does not follow the path of the ordinary. The chosen ones are set apart, processed through fire, and tested in ways that don't make sense to the people around them. It takes time to be prepared for what you were created to do. And sometimes that time stretches far beyond what you imagined. But what I love about God is that he is not limited by time. He redeems time. He restores the years. He ensures that not a single moment of your journey is wasted. There are some of you who have been feeling like you missed your opportunity, like too many mistakes have piled up, like too many years have been lost. But let me remind you that the God we serve is a God who specializes in the impossible. The God who can take a man or a woman who thought their best days were behind them and launch them into a destiny so powerful that it makes everything they endured make sense. You see, the world will try to tell you that by the time you reach a certain age, you should have accomplished this, you should have secured that, you should have it all figured out. But God is saying, I am not bound by the world's timelines. I am not confined to human expectations. I have been working behind the scenes, molding you, shaping you, preparing you. Because the truth is, if he had given it to you before now, you wouldn't have been able to sustain it. If he had released you too soon, the weight of the calling would have crushed you. But something shifts when you have been through the fire. Something changes when you have been humbled, when you have been broken, when you have learned to rely on him in ways you never thought you needed to. Some of you have spent years running from the very thing God has called you to. You convinced yourself that you weren't worthy, that you weren't ready, that you weren't capable. But baby, let me tell you, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. He doesn't look at your resume, he looks at your heart. And if he has decided that now is your time, then nothing, no mistake, no failure, no delay can stop what he has set in motion. There is something that happens when you reach a certain season in your life and realize that you no longer have time to waste trying to fit into places that were never meant for you. There is something that shifts when you realize that being chosen doesn't mean being accepted, it means being set apart. It means that you will walk through seasons where you feel misunderstood, overlooked, even rejected. But can I tell you something? Rejection is often the vehicle that transports you to your destiny. What you thought was a setback was really God setting you up. See, some of you have been looking at your life through the lens of loss instead of the lens of preparation. You've been asking God why certain doors closed, why certain relationships ended, why certain opportunities slipped through your fingers. But what if I told you that every single no was God's way of making room for the yes that was tied to your purpose? Because when you are chosen, you cannot be hidden forever. When you are chosen, there is a moment, an appointed time where everything shifts, when all the lessons, all the trials, all the nights you cried yourself to sleep begin to make sense. When the power that has been lying dormant inside of you awakens and suddenly everything clicks into place. This is the season where you stop apologizing for who you are. This is the season where you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. This is the season where you step boldly into what God has called you to do, knowing that if he started it, he will finish it. And let me tell you, the enemy has tried everything to convince you that you were too late. He tried to make you believe that your best years were behind you. He tried to keep you in cycles of doubt, cycles of fear, cycles of complacency. But baby, you survived. You made it through the storms. You made it through the heartbreak. You made it through the moments when you didn't even think you'd see another day. And now it's time to walk in everything God has been preparing you for. This is your moment. This is your time. This is the season where you finally step into the fullness of who God has created you to be.